welcome back to Cedar Porch Homestead. I'm JR, and if you have fallen into the trap that millions of other people have fallen into the last several years, you have found yourself with baby chicks. Whether you were walking through a feed store or your local Tractor Supply and you heard that cheep, and that impulse buy brought you over to those cute little chicks, now you have chicks in your car, in your house, they're making noise and you're not quite sure what to do with them. Well, today we're going to talk about brooders and everything you need to know about setting up a brooder. So the first thing is, what is a brooder? A brooder is a confined area that you are raising your chicks in until they're fully feathered and able to either go into your coop with your larger birds or go into the coop and start producing those eggs for you. How do you start your brooder? Well, we've had a whole litany of brooders since we've started our backyard chickens and our farm in the past. One of the things we've done is a cardboard box, not our shiniest moment. However, I don't suggest you use a cardboard box more than a day or two until you get something a little bit more permanent built. We've also used these containers. So as long as you've got a metal lid to protect them from any predation, cats, little kids, your wife that wants to pick them up all the time, whatever it is, the lid's important as well, but we've used those. If you already have a coop, you can actually use your coop as well, as long as you've got a place to keep them warm and sectioned off from the larger birds. Or you go all in and you have a brooder like what we have. And if you're interested in how we built this, I'll link that video in the description below, because that was a pretty cool build. Now, we've got to get our new brooder set up for our new hens that we just hatched. Stick around and we'll show you how we do that. One of the first things you need to do is go ahead and get a deep litter set up. We love the deep litter method because it keeps the smells down. It keeps the nastiness of those little chicks way under control. And at the end of it, we scrape it all out or we collect it all and it goes into our compost, and it makes some great compost for your spring gardens. Now, what we use is a large flake we get from Tractor Supply. You can get it at other feed stores. This is just the most convenient for us. However, don't use the fine shavings. We've done this in the past and it's like a sawdust. And I will tell you that when those little birds make those big messes and those fine shavings clump up on their feet, they walk around with little club feet, and you've got to take your fingers and pull that off those little feet. And it's poop and sawdust, and it's like little concrete boots. It's not fun. So, large flake is the way to go. As you're starting the deep litter and you're adding your flakes, you want to start with about a 3 to 4 inch layer, and that's going to allow a lot of carbon there to suck up that really nasty stuff that those baby chicks. And I know I keep harping on how nasty these baby chicks are. We had these in our laundry room at one point, a long time ago, when we were very inexperienced. And guess what? That was a mistake, because they're nasty. They're always nasty. They're called dirty birds for a reason. I'm not going to get hung up on this, but you can tell I still hold a grudge. So we're going to add this flake to this brooder, and that's going to allow us to have that deep litter. All right, so we're going to open this up. And it's very, very important to have good lids on your brooder, because everything loves a chicken nugget. If you've heard me talk about chickens in the past, that's a phrase I always use. Everyone loves a chicken nugget. Possums, cats, raccoons, kids, everyone wants to grab a hold of them and either play with them or eat them. So we want to keep them protected with a good lid. So feeders come in a number of sizes, shapes, and styles. It really doesn't matter on the feeder, but you don't want it to be too big to where, like on this one, a chick could fall into the top of it and get stuck, because chicks also try to unalive themselves as much as possible. So when we're starting our chicks, we like to use just a small feeder like this that you can get in any kind of brooder kit. They sell a lot of different varieties that are smaller like this, and your chicks aren't going to be eating a whole lot when they first come out of the egg, so these work really well. You're also going to want to put a solid surface in the bottom of your brooder, and that's what's going to keep it above all your deep litter, and it's going to keep it a lot cleaner, and they're not going to be throwing as much shavings and nastiness in there while it's set up like that. So what do you feed your chicks? Well, we like to feed ours an 18% protein. You can get that at the feed store, but 18 to 20% protein is what you're going to be looking for, and specifically on the bag it should say chick starter or grower, and that's what you're going to want to stick with.
Okay, let's talk about the water. We have one of the smaller ones because SJR said the baby chicks are stupid and they will try to drown themselves if they're given the opportunity. So we like the smaller waterer because it has a smaller trough. And it's okay if you have one of the bigger ones. I would just suggest getting some pebbles or some rocks and putting it in the trough. That way there's not enough water for them to fall into and drown. So we have this one, and this is anecdotal, but this is what we do because I feel like it makes our chicks hardier and healthier. We have never had any problems with our laying chickens dying. So I use some apple cider vinegar, and you just want to make sure you have the raw and the kind that says with the mother. And you put 1 teaspoon to a gallon is the ratio. So this only takes about a quart. So I'm going to do a quart, and it'll be a quarter of a teaspoon. Or I'm sorry, a quarter of a tablespoon. So it's 1 tablespoon to 1 gallon. And it is super simple. You just put it in there. And then I'm going to fill up their waterer. It fits perfectly. And with these, you just want to really make sure that the bottoms are twisted on the way they're supposed to be, because I've had these fall off whenever I go to flip the water over.
One of the things that you're going to really need for your brooder is a heat source. Now we use this heat lamp with a red bulb. It's 250 watts. You can get that at any home improvement store, any feed store. You can get it online. I can go ahead and link one in the description below that we use. So what you're going to be wanting is a heat lamp that's set up securely above your brooder. If it's not secure, they can create a fire hazard. So you want to be very careful with them. But what you're looking for is to create a 95-degree environment for your baby chicks. How do you know it's 95 degrees? Well, there's a couple ways. One, you can get a thermometer and put that in your brooder, which isn't a bad idea. Two, you can just watch your chicks. Either they're going to be huddled underneath it because they're too cold and you're going to need to drop your heat lamp down a little bit, or they're going to be all the way on the other side of the brooder because they're too hot, and you're going to want to raise that heat lamp just a little bit. And when you see them kind of scattered, running, eating, doing all the chicky things that you expect the chicks to do, that's when you know that their environment is the temperature it needs to be. So we've got our chicks out of our incubator. We have a few more that are going to hatch tonight probably, but we need to get these that are all dried up into the brooder. And my daughter Ashlyn's going to help me because I'll tell you what we do as she's doing it. So what we do, we always do our best to dip their beaks in the water and also put their beaks next to the food and into the food so that they know where their water source and their food is going to be. All right, you got your baby chicks all set up in the brooder. They're doing everything that you would expect a baby chick to do. They're staying warm, they're eating, they're drinking, they're scratching around. They are acting as much of a chicken as they possibly can, right? Well, how long do they stay in a brooder? Well, we typically keep our chicks in a brooder for 6 to 8 weeks. Now, I like to keep them to that 8-week mark because we do have an established flock in our backyard. And I find that if you wait until they're completely feathered, they're able to regulate their temperatures a lot better without the use of a heat lamp. And they're just a little bit bigger and more hardy to hold up to the outside environment and going through that initial pecking order that they're gonna have to go through with the established flock. Now, when do we do that? We do it at nighttime when the older chickens are in their roost. We bring these guys out, put them in the coop with the older chickens. So when the old hens wake up in the morning, guess what? They've got new chickens with them, and it kind of limits that pecking order and the bullying a little bit. So if you like this video and you like our content, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, give us a thumbs up. We typically come out with content about once a week, and we'll see you on our next video.